For joining us. It's a Tuesday in downtown Charlottesville. We're in the shadows of Thomas Jefferson's University, 2 miles, less than 2 miles from the John Paul Jones Arena, from the lawn, from Scott Stadium, a block away from the Charlottesville Police Department, a police department that is very busy right now. Currently, the police department raiding a house on Charlton Avenue with the help of the Virginia State Police. We are 1 block away from the Albemarle County Courthouse, the Charlottesville Courthouse, a block off the downtown mall, and right in the middle of the hedge funds, the family offices, the law firms, and the movers and shakers that really drive business in the economy in Central Virginia. A lot we're going to cover on this program. We'll talk politics on today's show. We will talk crime on today's show. We'll talk economics on the program. We will talk real estate on the program. And we'll have a special guest today. The one, the only, the mysterious, the great JerrDini will join us on the Tuesday edition of the I Love CVille Show. Take a look at the screen for headlines. First, I want to offer some insight into the 3 days of being away from our studio, 3 difficult days, but really it was 5.5 for me. On Wednesday evening, things were just not feeling right with the old body. And I went to bed around 7:30 on Wednesday evening, and it felt like I didn't wake up until Monday morning. And that's pretty much what happened. From this past Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. to yesterday morning, I got out of bed 1 time. I walked from my bed to our breakfast area, spent 3 hours out of bed, and then went back to the bedroom. I went from bouts of absolute freezing chills to bouts of sweating through my clothes, the sheets, the bed, one right after the other. From Wednesday night until Monday morning, I had 1 meal. I've lost nearly 9 pounds when I weighed myself this morning, from Wednesday night until Monday morning. My wife persuades me, finally, on Sunday to go see the doctor. We go to the doctor. Going to a doctor's office in 2024 is an excruciating experience. Excruciating experience. If you haven't done it, I hope you don't have to. Go to the doctor, get some antibiotics, get pumped with some antibiotics, and here we are Tuesday, not at 100%, but God, praise God, not in bed anymore. That offers some insight into what my Wednesday night until Monday morning looked like, the sickest I have ever been in my life. I think of my wife and our 2 boys during that time as influence and motivation to keep pushing forward. For those that go through something like this as single people or home alone or with no family around, I pray for you, and I sincerely mean that. I cannot imagine going through what I just did from Wednesday night until Monday morning alone. My wife, an amazing rock star, nursing me back to health, while our oldest son, who is nearly 6 in kindergarten, has the same symptoms that I do. Granted, children, for some reason, recover at a way faster clip than adults do. There was a time and place in my life where I believe that you could overcome sickness through the power of the mind, where you could literally say, I'm not sick, I won't allow myself to get sick, I'm not sick today, and I could overcome stuff that way. The older you get, maybe you're just more vulnerable or susceptible, or your immune system is just not as strong. But I'll tell you what, it was a dark Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday morning for me. On Monday, around 11:30, I see the sunshine peeking through the cracks in the curtain of our bedroom. And like a moth to a light bulb, I was drawn to these rays of sunshine, luring me out of bed, giving me the hope and the courage to stand up and get out of a cavernous room that had been my coffin for 5 days. Sitting in this chair and connecting with you guys again is a blessing. And before I move to the next topic, I want to remember this. And it takes bad times like this to appreciate the good times. We could do anything we want in life, professionally, personally, athletically, whatever you call it. But if we don't have our health, nothing matters. It's a cliche. I learned it yet again over the last 5 days and change. Health is number one. Health and the family around you, number one. It's great to be back in the sound. All right, take a look at the screen here. We got Bellamy Brown. And this is going to be a tough topic for me because the man's a friend of the program, Bellamy Brown. Man's a friend of the network. Mm-hmm. I hope Bellamy's watching the program today. Someone should tag Bellamy Brown and let him know. He's in the news, Mr. Brown is. And he's in the news for a very curious, very odd, very conspiratory theme. He is alleging cronyism in City Hall with City Council. Bellamy Brown, the political candidate who has failed not once but twice to be elected, the first time in 2019 for City Council. The last time was last year for a run for delegate in Richmond. Katrina Carlson got that victory. He did not come close to beating Miss Carlson. And today, Mr. Brown is looking to get his political resume a bit more polished for a push at potentially a run for the 54th district when Carlson's 2-year tenure is up. And he is claiming that City Council, in particular Lloyd Snook, Brian Pinkston, and Michael Payne, are using cronyism and tactics backed in conspiracy to prevent Mr. Brown from serving on housing advisory committees in the city of Charlottesville. I'm going to unpack this story from a fair angle, probably the fairest angle Mr. Brown's going to get, because Mr. Brown knows he's a friend of this program. The benefit of the doubt that's going to be offered to Mr. Brown in today's analysis will be a benefit of the doubt that likely will not be provided by the average Joe and Sally in the public and by any other media outlet in Central Virginia. Also on today's headlines, we're going to talk about an uptick in gun violence around Charlottesville, including a shooting over the weekend on just off the downtown mall in the 200th block of Market Street. What block are we in, Judah?
Let's see. We're in the 400 block.
Yes, thank you. You know the address to where you were. You've been coming here for years. Yeah. We're in the 400th block. It's right there on the window of Market Street. So in the 200th block, a shooting as bars are letting out. Charlottesville Police Department Chief Accuses, they're currently raiding a house on Charlton Avenue with the help of the Virginia State Police. We need to talk about a topic that I was hoping was done with, gun violence on today's program. I want to talk about the uptick in listings in the Lewis Mountain neighborhood. Over the last 2 weeks, 4 homes have hit the market in Lewis Mountain. 4 houses in Lewis Mountain. They range from $1 million to $2,200,000 in asking price. We will answer this question: why are Lewis Mountain homes hitting the market with such aggressive clips, and why are we hearing more Lewis Mountain homes are set to hit the market in the very near future? And ladies and gentlemen, we're very excited to introduce a new segment on the I Love CVille Show featuring Charlottesville's greatest fortune teller. No, it's not the lady on Route 29 that was scamming people out of their money by reading their palms. What was her name? You remember that story? She was telling fortunes on Route 29 where she was saying, you have serious wealth and opportunity in your future, but to truly realize that wealth and opportunity, you need to leave $175,000 with me right now so I can invest it in the afterlife on your behalf.
Was that Miss Cleo?
That's the one. How did you remember that?
I mean,
how the hell did you remember that? What was her name?
I think it was I know it was Cleo. I think it was
Are you on screen?
Yeah. I think it was Miss Cleo. I used to drive by her.
I think that's the one.
I used to drive by that house.
I'm pretty sure that's one. See if we can figure out that story. Charlottesville fortune teller arrested is what I'm going to Google. See if you can find what that is. Sandra Stevenson Marks, a.k.a. Catherine Marks, is who it was. Catherine Marks. She laundered more than $1 million in stolen funds from her victims. She claimed to be a psychic. I'm queuing up an article from the CVille Weekly. Psychic readings. What was the sign outside her Seminole Trail business? Stole over $2 million from 5 people. Sandra Stevenson Marks. Don't worry, the great JerrDini will not be asking for your money. All the great JerrDini will be doing will be looking deep into a crystal ball to predict some outcomes for Charlottesville. The lead of the story, however, on a rainy Tuesday afternoon in downtown CVille is the Bellamy Brown saga. Judah, this is a concerning story. And the benefit of the doubt will be offered to Mr. Brown at a level that others I do not think will offer. I'll set the stage. Sounds like your benefit of the doubt is going to be very present today. Bellamy Brown, in an interview with the Daily Progress, he reached out to us weeks ago about this via Facebook direct message. You saw the messages. I wasn't sure what to do with the messages he was sending us weeks ago about these alleged cronyism complaints or claims. I responded to him, I wish you nothing but the best, Mr. Brown. Always nothing but the best. That's how I responded to these claims. He, however, recently got an audience with the newspaper. And the newspaper, of course, Jason Armesto wrote a story 6 hours ago about the alleged cronyism within City Hall as it pertains to Bellamy Brown's viewpoint or vantage point. Mm-hmm. He claims that Michael Payne, Lloyd Snook, and Brian Pinkston are in cahoots to sabotage Bellamy's political future. He claims Lloyd Snook, Michael Payne, and Brian Pinkston are in cahoots, and their plan is to keep Mr. Brown off of volunteer committees, in particular the vacant seat on the Charlottesville Housing Advisory Committee, which is an 11-member all-volunteer group which provides counsel with recommendations to improve affordable housing options and provides for-profit developer recommendations to encourage thoughtful development. He was denied an opportunity to sit on this advisory committee, despite being one of 2 applicants for this committee, despite being qualified, his words, he was not greenlit for this committee, and now he is responding by speaking to whomever will listen, why he believes 3 counselors are trying to politically sabotage his political career. And he attributes that to being a legitimate threat to Katrina Coulson, and that Snook, Payne, and Pinkston are backing Coulson, who clearly is a starlet of the Democratic Party in Charlottesville and perhaps beyond. If you're not reading the tea leaves correctly, Katrina Coulson, who's a Richmond delegate right now, she has an incredibly bright political future. She is 2-0 in the races she's run. She is undefeated in her first race, school board, where she was the chairwoman of the school board.
Yeah.
And she won in convincing fashion last year in a delegate race that was crowded and competitive, that saw 3 known brands on the ticket, and Dave Norris, Bellamy Brown, and Katrina Coulson. That race got ugly, and when the political science finally was broken down, Dave Norris and Bellamy Brown basically split their voter base, and Katrina Coulson, with some Sonia Smith fundraising dollars, and by some I mean a hell of a lot, yeah, she allowed Norris and Brown to muck it up. She stayed away from the mucking up, and she catapulted herself to Richmond and is now a delegate in the capital of the Commonwealth. What do you make of this? This is a saga. This is Young and the Restless in real time, without Victor, Jack, and Ryan. Instead of Victor, Jack, and Cricket, we have Bellamy, Lloyd, and Katrina. 12:30 p.m. CBS. Forget that. 12:30 p.m. I Love CVille Network, City Hall. Show is yours on this saga.
I think my biggest confusion over his claims are the claims of cronyism, because they haven't filled the position. I'm not sure why he would make that claim. It seems spurious. I mean, it just seems like an odd claim to make in this case. I can certainly understand his I don't know if paranoia is the right word, but his sense that that Charlottesville is against him. I'd be hard put to not feel the same way if I was in his position, but I feel like he's taking everything that's happened over the course of the last few years and channeling that into, a
vendetta.
For lack of a better, I wouldn't say a vendetta. I would say
he's basically claiming this is a vendetta against him to sabotage his political career.
Yeah, I mean, I would call it a victimhood mentality, like the fact. I don't know.
This is his exact quote that he gave the Daily Progress. Mm-hmm. Quote, "My strong belief, and I believe very accurate, is they seek to not let me serve our community due to concern that I will be a viable threat to Coulson."
Does he? I didn't see
Michael Payne responds to that quote in the Daily Progress saying, quote, "That's not how I made my decision." End quote.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to hear more from Brown about why he feels that way. Does he have?
He's basing it on these reasons. The housing advisory committee he wanted to serve on.
Yeah, it has an open seat.
Open seat. It hasn't been filled. He applied. He was one of 2 candidates. He thought he was the only one. He was one of 2 actually.
Yeah.
Neither of the 2 applicants for that open seat got the look, got the nod. In fact, City Council said we would rather keep the spot empty right now than give it to these two candidates.
I think it was less that they would rather not give it to those two candidates.
They're looking for a nuanced person for this spot
and
that has upzoning experience.
They're looking for someone with specific experience to round out the board.
And I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that either.
I have no problem with that. Choosing the right candidate as opposed to a candidate that just happens to apply when a job is open. Anybody that runs a business, you choose the right candidate as opposed to just filling a job.
Yeah.
Anyone who runs a business, that's the case. Interestingly, this whole story just is not a good look.
No.
And I am a huge Bellamy Brown supporter. I said during the race last year, the delegate race that got contentious and heated and nasty, that we would be lucky to have any in the 54th district. Any. Coulson, Norris, or Brown. The reality, Katrina Coulson crushed her opponents.
Yeah.
She crushed them. Mm-hmm. She is a Charlottesville city attorney. She is a Ivy League pedigree. She is Albemarle County School Board. Albemarle County chairwoman of school board.
Yeah. And she's got the backing.
Albemarle County School Board coming out of COVID, arguably one of the most difficult times to be on the school board, navigating the leadership of the schools. And as Judah said, she's got Sonia Smith money. She's got Sonia Smith money, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
The star power, the resume, the upside, the brightness around Katrina Coulson should not be undervalued. This is a Democratic political candidate that has as much upside as any in the party. I'm going to put it into perspective. Sally Hudson was the darling of the Democratic Party when she took over for David Toscano in the House. What we've come to realize with Sally Hudson is she's a bit socialist for even some in the Democratic Party. She is so left, Sally Hudson, that she's turned off some in the Democratic Party. And Ms. Hudson, who has a bright political future, she made the dubious decision of challenging Cree deeds this past election cycle. And many were left perplexed. What are you doing challenging an institution like Cree deeds? The reason she did was because of redistricting. She saw a vulnerability with Cree where it was a new district and the fact that Cree had his base splintered. And she said, with Cree being an older white guy and his base splintered, I'm going to go after him in the state Senate. And you know what happened?
Backfired.
It backfired. It was tight, but it backfired. She did not wait her turn. She could have easily done another 2 years in the House, Sally Hudson. And now Sally took an L. She took a loss. And Katrina Coulson is in her seat. And Coulson, unlike Sally Hudson, is not super left. She's more in the centered realm of Democrat. And Coulson knows how to play the game. Do you call Bellamy a legit threat to Katrina Coulson?
No.
Neither do I. Do you see an opportunity for Mr. Brown winning any election his first? With what storylines now on the interwebs Police Civilian Oversight Board drama. And now this.
I think he would need a completely 100% buttoned up campaign, big backers, and he would need a lot of time and effort to get over the hump of a lot of this information. I think he could do it, like I said, with a perfect campaign and a lot of money, but it would be, I mean, in this area, I think Charlottesville is just the wrong place.
One of the biggest mistakes he has made was in 2019 when he ran for city council. He chose to do it as an independent instead of as a Democrat. And when Bellamy Brown in 2019 ran for city council as an independent, he got into a brouhaha, a war of words with Nakia Walker. And Nakia Walker basically questioned his blackness. Nakia Walker did. Nakia Walker basically called him some of the nastiest of names. Okay? And he thought he could use the independent label to distance himself from a Democratic Party in Charlottesville that was in disarray. And at a time in the Democratic Party, because of Nakia Walker's shenanigans and lunatic behavior, the Democratic Party was vulnerable. And still an independent could not get on council. An independent that grew up in this area.
Yeah.
Still could not, a military veteran, a Marine, could not get on council.
Yeah.
And in 2019, after losing city council as an independent, he goes last year for House of Delegates, and he chooses to run as a Democrat.
Yeah.
And folks found that disingenuous.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody sees Mr. Brown as a Democrat.
There it is. There it is.
And this is the wrong area to be running as anything but a Democrat.
And there it is. Judah Wickhauer in a nutshell. Let's get to the viewers and listeners commenting on the feed. Let's go to John Blair. He knows a thing or two about politics. Get his photo on screen. He says, I don't say anything about political controversies, but I will say that Katrina Coulson is one of the nicest, most inclusive people I've known. Let's go to Grayson watching this program. Jerry, it's great to have you and Judah back on screen. We missed you significantly. I did not realize how much of a part of our day that you and Judah were until you go off air for a handful of days. Not only did it impact our lunchtime hour, but it impacted what we talk with our neighbors about when we're walking Gus around the hood.
Thank you.
Thank you for being back on air, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Trey Barham, welcome to the program. Olivia Branch watching the program. She says this, Olivia, I absolutely love you. Can you get Olivia's photo on screen? Welcome back, little brother. Glad you are on the men. I hope your family is well. Thank you, Olivia. I will say this, my wife is an absolute rock star. I say it all the time on this program. I hope she's listening. She nursed me and our oldest son to health while keeping our 15-month-old fed 10 meals a day, keeping everything else going around the house. The stuff she does behind the scenes for the business. And Judah Wickhauer, a rock star around the office as well.
Thank you.
From Wednesday night until Monday morning, I had one meal and did not leave the bed but once. The episodes were freezing cold for 2 hours, to sweating through my clothes through 2 hours, to freezing cold for 2 hours, to sweating through my clothes for 2 hours, from Wednesday night until Monday morning.
Yeah.
Anyone that goes through something like that by themselves.
I remember having pneumonia a few years ago. Well, probably more than a few years ago, but not too long ago. And it was miserable. I'd come into work here, then I'd go home and just like try to find a position where I could breathe on the bed and just.
Stephanie Wells Rhodes
Wait to
watching the
die.
program. Can we get Stephanie's photo on screen? Glad you're feeling better, my friend. Welcome back. Thank you, Stephanie. Bill McChesney watching the program. TV station down the road watching the program. Newspaper watching the program. All right, we'll go to the next topic. Before we do, I'm going to dot the I's and cross the T's on the Brown topic. Look. Mr. Brown's a friend of the program. He reached out to us weeks ago with this storyline. I didn't give this storyline airtime. I know Lloyd Snook extremely well. Lloyd Snook's internal compass is one that beats at a very strong moral metronome level. The man is not going to be, at this point of his political career, this is the last run for Mayor Snook.
Yeah.
This term on council. And when you have the benefit of having your last term in office, I mean, he's got, what is he, 70? Did we figure he was 70-something?
I think so.
Still spry, still full of zest. But when you're in your final term in your political career, you don't worry about stuff like this. He's just going about his day-to-day on council with what he thinks is best for the city. And he's not being jaded or swayed by what could happen in a delegate race 2 years from now. That's crazy talk. And I don't think Michael Payne or Brian Pinkston are influenced by that either. And then to really put it in a nutshell, if Katrina Carlson wants to run for delegate for a second term, and she very well could, there's nothing beating that buzzsaw. That buzzsaw is going to get what it wants. Mark it down.
You calling her a buzzsaw?
In the most flattering way possible. And if Katrina Carlson, if I know you watch the show from time to time, if word gets back to you that Jerry Miller called you a buzzsaw, it was done in very flattering terminology. She is a buzzsaw. She is the type of political foe or the type of adversary that will look at you in the eye, smile at you, charm you, have you leaving the room feeling like you're on the top of the world, and then go beat your ass behind the scenes. And that's politics, and she's good at it.
There you go.
And she's good at it. All right, what do you want to? Is the phrase gun violence back?
Apparently. I mean, it's one of those things that you really can't stop. You could take away everybody's guns, but
the problem is the close proximity of this now.
Yeah, I know, but
and the other problem is the 200th block of Market Street, right as bars are being let out.
Yeah.
That scares the bejeebus out of me.
Yeah, but bars let out late, so it's not like people.
1:45.
Yeah, nobody.
This is 1:45 in the morning.
It's not like anybody's got to be worried about their kids or their loved ones. I mean, obviously some people do, but
Judah, people go to bars and they close them down.
I know that.
Okay.
I know that, but the point being that making this into the downtown mall being unsafe at all hours of the day is reactionary and I think overblown.
I'll echo that. I will echo that.
And then there's the fact that these incidents have always been isolated, and they're not the kind of thing that, we don't. It's not like we have gun battles going on the downtown mall. Do we know more about what happened with this? Do we know more of the story about why it happened? It seems to me that similar to the last time we had gun violence on the downtown mall, having to do, down near the other end of the mall, it was personal. Like, that doesn't make it any less scary for people that are on the downtown mall, especially in this case when the bars are closing. But the fact of the matter is, it's not like people are walking around the downtown mall waving guns when the bars get out.
Okay,
I feel like this was another isolated incident that is scary, but likely to not affect any of us.
Okay. Charlottesville Police, in conjunction with the Virginia State Police, currently executing a search warrant in the 900th block of Charlton Avenue. This is what I think we're going to see from Chief Accuses, the George Clooney of policing. Transparency with what's going on. Communication with the community. Quick response, fast arrests, justice, action, results.
Yeah, that's what we've been seeing from his office so far.
And that's all we can ask for.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, we hear about something, and what do you know? A day or two later, we're reading about case solved in the news. And I think that they've been on the ball with all this stuff. Obviously, you can't stop someone from firing off a gun. I mean, most crime is not something that you can actively prevent unless you have actionable evidence that something is going to happen. And in the case of something like this, I doubt it was premeditated in a way that anyone could have been like, oh, well, we should have stopped it.
Deep Throat watching the program. Let's get his photo on screen. He wants to comment on the Bellamy Brown topic. You got his photo on there?
Yep.
He says city council being pretty short-sighted with the Bellamy Brown thing. Sure, that passes the smell test. But what I struggle with is this. Is the Housing Advisory Committee a springboard to higher political office? For me, Deep Throat says, the Housing Advisory Committee seems more like a trapdoor to the sloth of terminal boredom in the domain of shoeless Phil Doranzio. That was the planning commissioner who sat in meetings barefoot that we played on the I Love CVille show.
I do remember that.
In regards to the gun violence, I echo what you just say. I will say this. In February, when people are still paying credit card bills from the holidays, when the weather's cold, and when foot traffic's down, the last thing the 8 blocks that we call the heartbeat of Charlottesville needs is more negative headlines.
Yeah.
The headlines are already panhandling, homelessness, foot traffic has not returned, storefronts are returning, and now this. Sandersville in the park, Tent Town. Don't want to add to that headline cornucopia.
Yeah.
There's some truth to not adding to the headline cornucopia. But I do think Accuses and the police department are going to drop a Judge Judy-like gavel and hammer on this.
Yeah, no doubt.
And when he does, it's going to further add to the mystique of a man that appears to be able to do no wrong. What has Accuses done wrong on the job so far?
Well, there's some question about the potentially too quick
You're
charging.
talking about the
charging
Ravenna.
of the Ravenna assaulter.
I'd like a little clarity on that. That storyline has
Definitely.
sunk below the news cycle.
Yeah, it's out of general sight right now.
And is
but,
that by coincidence or intentional? A man who claims his innocence and says he has alibis to prove it. I'd love some clarity on that. We all would.
no doubt?
Regardless, Accuses is what? 13 months, a year and change into his campaign. Things continue to go as they're going. You might name a street after this man. This man could be your first police chief, city councilor. I don't think that legally can happen.
You don't think that legally can happen?
I don't think that legally can happen.
Oh, at the same time.
At the same time.
Right.
Yeah, and who in God's name would retire from a $200,000 job to take an $18,000 job?
Yeah,
Where half the community hates your guts and the other half don't even care about you.
right.
But if it could happen, like the player coach in sports, a guy that was able to be a performer on the pitch or on the court or on the field while also coach his team, there have been those rare circumstances in sports lore where an individual has been both a player and a coach. Accuses, that rare circumstance in Charlottesville lore, who could be both a counselor and a police chief. And if he had the criteria, I mean, Mo Jones went from NBC 29 evening sportscaster to city manager. If you can go from calling Jefferson District girls volleyball on NBC 29 after Norm Sprouse botches the weather to being the top head honcho of Charlottesville city manager, why couldn't a police chief become a city manager? Here's Norm Sprouse with the weather. There's zero chance we will have rain tomorrow. Zero chance we will have rain. As it's raining right now. Norm Sprouse with the weather. And next, Mo Jones with the news. In Jefferson District girls volleyball action, Hannah Kraling had 12 kills. Kim Jones, 5 assists. Back to you, Sharon Gregory. I'm having a little fun.
Yep.
It's good to be back. I'm having a little fun. I kid because I care. All right. Can we talk Lewis Mountain? One of the most Tony, prestigious, exclusive, wealthy, and coveted neighborhoods in this community, Lewis Mountain, adjacent to the University of Virginia, 15-minute walk from the downtown mall, across the street from Foods of All Nations, right next to Farmington and the Boar's Head, within walking distance of grounds. It's had 4 listings hit the market in the last 2 weeks. Listings range from $1 million even, $1 million even, to $2.2 million. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that homeowners in Lewis Mountain are now becoming quite concerned with what upzoning could bring and how it could impact this neighborhood. I am hearing that more units, more homes are going to be coming on the market in the very near future as well. One of the homes, to be exact, 1943 Thompson Road, initially listed at $2,480,000. 6-bed, 5.5 bath, 4,600 square feet, 0.27 acres. And within, I'm going to look at it on the MLS right now. From February 15th to February 18th, this listing cut $280,000 in its asking price from the 15th of February to the 18th of February. Another listing that's hit the Lewis Mountain neighborhood is 303 Alderman Road, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 1,900 square feet, 0.31 acres, asking $1 million. Here's how this listing is marketed. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Recently transitioned from R1 to RB zoning, this change simplifies development by setting a fixed density. Developers are allowed a baseline of 6 units, which increases to 8 if the existing home is retained and can expand to 12 units for projects including affordable housing. The city permits the construction of townhomes or condos within designated setbacks and allows for the subdivision into individual lots for sale. This property not only offers flexibility in development, but also connects investors to the vibrant university community, enhancing its appeal for both residential and academic-oriented projects. The language in the listing, Judah Wickhauer, makes zero mention
Yeah.
of the specs of the house itself. Instead, the language makes only mention of the opportunistic nature of upzoning and how it applies to the neighborhood and this parcel. It's a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath brick rancher that's 1,900 square feet on 1/3 of an acre. The asking price $1 million. It went on the market 2 days ago. Another one hit the market moments ago on Cameron Lane, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 3,000 square feet. So you went from a neighborhood that houses were trading off market for premium, sellers commanding whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
Where it was rare if these listings hit the market because they were just trading with the who's in the know.
Right.
To now you have 4 in the last 2 weeks with more to come. And the one at the top of the pricing pyramid, spectrum,
is a McMansion.
cut $280,000 after just being on the market for 3 days. You're seeing the neighborhood spooked with upzoning. You're seeing the neighborhood spooked with that apartment tower at the Truist Bank site. You're seeing the neighborhood spooked with political uncertainty, developmental uncertainty, and you're seeing the neighborhood asking itself this: do I want to call this house my forever home when an apartment tower can be created and constructed right next to my house where my kids play? And you know who called this? Let them know who called this, Judah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let them know who called it.
You called it, but is anybody really going to build an apartment tower in the middle of that neighborhood?
Why not?
I mean, aren't they the asking prices, even the ones that are dropping their prices, a little out of the range of someone wanting to build something like that?
That's a great question. Judah Wickhauer, a man of economics. This $1 million house on 1/3 of an acre that was transitioned from R1 to RB zoning, where developers are allowed to build a baseline of 6 units, which increases to 8 if the existing home is retained. It can expand to 12 units for projects with affordable housing. They could put 12 units on 0.31 acres in a neighborhood
Yeah.
that's Tony, prestigious, and rich. if they do affordable housing.
Yeah.
Everyone's in favor of affordable housing, except
Everyone's afraid of affordable housing.
everyone's in favor of affordable housing, except if it's right next to them.
Yeah.
Everyone says, oh, affordable housing, housing affordability, affordable housing, except if it's right next to them.
Yeah.
What do you call that?
I mean, it's literally not in my backyard.
Literally.
Somebody else's backyard, maybe.
Not in my backyard. Yeah. Deep Throat's highlighting the crummy rancher on Alderman, he says. I'm curious to see the economics play out as more units hit the market in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
You're having a changing. We are literally watching before our eyes a neighborhood with pedigree and what's the word? Potagy?
I'm not sure. Potagy?
Did I just make that up?
I think so. I'm not sure what you're getting at with that word.
We're watching and you're going to throw it in?
No. I'm trying to figure out what word you were looking for.
We're watching a neighborhood with pedigree and history and affluence. A neighborhood that's Tony talked about, coveted, transitioned before our eyes into potentially Jefferson Park Avenue 2.0. Jefferson Park Avenue and the area around JPA, the side streets, Shamrock, Cleveland, Sunset, Stribling. It's an eclectic mix of student housing and residence.
Yeah.
That's literally happening very quickly in Lewis Mountain.
Maybe happening.
We'll see.
Well, yeah.
We'll see. Deep Throat's got some economics for us. $1 million of land, buying land for $1 million for the ability to build 6 1,500 square foot units. That can actually work. $170,000 per entitlement could be made to work. It just has to be a luxury product.
There you go.
John Blair's heading to a meeting, but he's got something for us to consider. John Blair, you're going to miss the great JerrDini. He's about to take my place. Get ready. And someone's going to take Judah's name. What's the person going to take your place's name?
I'll have to think about that.
You got about 90 seconds.
Oh, man.
Got about 90 seconds. John Blair says, I've got to head to a meeting, but here's something to consider. If you purchase this land, okay, he's doing the economics too, just like Deep Throat. Deep Throat, listen to Blair's economics here. If you purchase this land for $1 million, demolish the existing structure for $100,000, and build a fourplex of 4 units of 1,000 square feet at a cost of $250 per square foot, another $1 million spent, you've got $2.1 million in the quadplex. Throw in 20% profit, you're at $600,000 or so for a 1,000 feet unit in a quadplex if you're selling the 4 units. $600,000 for 1,000 square feet in that business model. Jesus Christ. This is the world we live in. Charlottesville, Virginia. Good Lord. Carol Thorpe says, it's great to have you both back. Can we get Carol Thorpe's photo on screen? In fact, keep Carol Thorpe's photo on screen as the great JerrDini takes my place. And as who's your character?
Oh, man. Let's call me, let's see. How about the sidekick?
The sidekick? We're going to work on your branding. See who does the branding around here. The sidekick? All right, sidekick. Make sure you're ready to go. Keep it on a 2-shot when you're ready. I'm ready. Do I need a headdress for the great JerrDini? I got my crystal ball. Can you see my crystal ball?
They can see your crystal ball.
Ah, my crystal ball is so clear today. Sidekick. Sidekick, first we need a new name. That's the first thing we're going to do here. The great JerrDini is going to find a better name for the sidekick here. What should the sidekick be called? Is the sidekick on a 2-shot?
Now he is.
Oh, sidekick. You will forever be named Boobini.
Boobini. That was the name you're going to give yourself. Boobini. I don't want that name.
You're Boobini.
Boobini.
Great JerrDini.
Terrible.
And Boobini.
I need a big B on my forehead.
Boobini.
And you need a hat.
I do need a hat. I might take that hat from you. I love that hat so much. Unless you like that hat, Boobini.
I'm fine with you wearing it.
Do you not like that hat?
I don't mind it, but I think...
Do you want to trade this baton for that hat?
Sure.
But I will feel like Boobini, you will be underdressed because I have a crystal ball and you do not.
That is true. I could take one of the smaller crystal balls.
Well, the great JerrDini brought a crystal ball for you. Boobini.
One like that?
Yes.
Well, we're not going to be able to... I don't think we'll be able to...
We won't be able to put that on there yet.
It might show up on the screen.
Right there? You want to try it? Studio cam. Studio cam.
Oh, man. Hold on.
We're doing this on the fly.
Studio cam.
It's a live program and it's fine. Are we doing a flying chest bump? Flying chest bump? Boobini?
Hold on.
Boobini, your glasses are falling off your chin, Boobini. I have a crystal ball for you, Boobini.
Let's see.
These crystal balls are so heavy. This is like an actual bowling ball for Boobini's crystal ball. Boobini, are you ready? You got to close that computer, Boobini.
Just gonna move it over here.
Are we flying chest bump? Okay. Do you need a baton, Boobini? I look. Your hat is crooked, Boobini. Why is your hat crooked, Boobini?
Because it got chest bumped.
Oh, God. When I laugh after being on the sick deathbed for 5 days, I'm cackling and laughing like an 87-year-old woman who smoked Camel Reds all her life. How about that for some lung butter right there for you?
There you go.
You know what? I need some headdress. Boobini. Should I take that here? You have a...
You want it?
No.
You could have tossed it.
Entertain them, Boobini. Entertain them.
And soon, the great JerrDini will be back on screen with portents and fortunes. Oh, here we go. That'll do.
All right. It's the great Boobini and the great JerrDini. The fortunes of Charlottesville. What does your crystal ball say, Boobini?
My crystal ball is charging up.
Your crystal ball has to say something. My crystal ball is saying this. That as more listings come on the market in the Lewis Mountain neighborhood, price cuts will be on the horizon for those that are on the market right now. Downward pressure is in the cards for listings. My crystal ball is saying this. Mr. Bellamy Brown, with his political future, must focus on staying away from drama to actualize long-term success and God-given ability. My crystal ball says this. Chief Accuses, the George Clooney of policing, will fight crime and will keep Charlottesville and its streets safe. My crystal ball is saying this. After many visits to Selvage Brewery on Ivy Road, the brewery will have massive success after moving from Woolen Mills. And its owners will look back on moving from Woolen Mills to Ivy Road with retrospect and say, that was one of the best business decisions we have ever made. My crystal ball is saying this. Oh, it's getting murky. It's getting really murky. Oh, I'm seeing some clarity. My crystal ball is saying Tony Bennett and its Virginia men's basketball team must beat Boston College and Georgia Tech because there's not a chance in hell they're beating Duke and Durham. And if they beat Boston College and Georgia Tech and don't flame out in the ACC tournament, the Who's will go dancing in March. My crystal ball is saying this. Go to a two-shot. The great JerrDini will be wearing the hat of Bubini on tomorrow's fortune-telling segment.
Ah.
And Bubini will be wearing JerrDini's hat.
Oh.
What, you don't like JerrDini's hat?
I could try it on.
Bubini really knows how to get into, really knows how to play the role over there.
Yeah, well, I'm still learning.
What is your crystal ball saying,
I haven't
Bubini?
gotten my fortune license yet.
What? Neither did, what was her name?
Apparently it wasn't Cleo.
I don't think it was Cleo.
Catherine?
Oh, yeah. Neither did Catherine. What is your fortune telling saying you?
Oh. It says that we'll be back tomorrow at 12:30.
Your fortune is very clear. Your crystal ball is very clear. For the great JerrDini and his sidekick Bubini, and for Jerry Miller and Judah Wickower, who are enjoying a pour of bourbon off camera, this is the I Love CVille Show. Whoa. 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 Whoa.
And there it is.